Hi, I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions. We all have different transitions in our life. I like to use the metaphor, or something that I do, is just triathlons. So first in a triathlon, you get in the water, you swim, and then you get to a transition area, and then you get on your bicycle. And then when you finish that, then you get to transition again, and then you're running. And this is just a great metaphor for our lives. What do we do from one thing to another to another? And I have a great example of somebody who has gone from one thing to another and become something totally different than maybe what the plan was in high school. And we have, our guest is John McLean. He currently is the minister at Unity of Nashville, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
The Unity of Nashville. And what a wonderful, interesting life he has had to get to where he is now in Nashville. So welcome to Transitions.
Thank you, Becky. It's great to be with you.
I think it's amazing that you are the minister of this wonderful church, and I hear that more and more people are coming because of your efforts, that is becoming more and more popular with the kids and the families, and you're drawing them in.
Yes, we're blessed right now, yes.
The law of attraction.
Yes.
Yes. But you are fascinating in that you have had such an interesting background. So I want to start with, when you first started out, you were born and raised where?
I was born and raised in Scarsdale, New York.
Okay.
Went to high school in New Rochelle. People seem to remember where that is because of the Dick Van Dyke Show. He lived in New Rochelle. Yeah, Robin Laura Petrie. So that's where I was from. I graduated from college in Washington, D.C. with a desire to work at a particular federal agency, which was called the National Endowment for the Arts. And so from 1976 to about 1982, I did indeed work there.
Okay.
And you know, the thing about my work life, Becky, is that Joseph Campbell said in one of his episodes that he did with Bill Moyers that were so impactful.
I love that.
When he did The Power of Myth.
Yes.
He said, if you look at your life in retrospect, it will appear to have been scripted, which is beautiful. And you know, my life makes sense to me. I can look at my life in retrospect and see a certain continuity that has been maintained all the way from the first day of kindergarten. But it may not seem like that to an outside viewer. But there has always been, for me, an interest in being of service and the arts. And that is something that has been a continuity for me.
Service and the arts.
Yeah, oddly enough, yes.
Okay.
That has been the continuity.
All right. So you were doing the thing in Washington, D.C. with the National Endowment for the Arts.
That is correct.
Okay. And then somehow or other, California called?
Well, what I was doing, I was on staff at this federal agency. A large project came up at this point, and I could either stay in my staff position, where I could have stayed and retired from. That was a perfectly reasonable career choice to have done that, and it was beautiful, meaningful, and interesting work. But I thought if I didn't take advantage of this opportunity, I knew that I had to. I knew that I had to.
And the opportunity was?
Well, it was what you would call, it was a policy development project that the government wanted to have a certain number of meetings with people all around the country, and so I coordinated an effort in order to get input from the field about how to redesign arts policy. And I think the number was, we had 22 public meetings from Honolulu to Brattleboro, Vermont, and every other place in between, where tens of thousands of people came to these meetings, and we had a large task force that traveled. So there's a lot of private fundraising that I did at that point, and matched that with federal dollars. And we had these meetings, got input, handed over a report, did a publication, and whatnot. And when the project was over, it was over, and I knew that I couldn't go back to my job because of federal laws at that time.
And that was through the Endowment for the Arts?
Through the Endowment for the Arts,
Okay, and
yes.
you could not go back?
You could not go back because
Oh.
of conflict laws
Okay.
that were on the books at that point.
Okay.
If you left, you left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I had met interesting people in California in my travels there, and I thought that there might be some opportunity to keep moving on with my interest in the arts there. And I had a tough time getting my foot there. It was a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
It also was 1982, which we don't remember. That was a pretty tough time in the economy in '82. It was a difficult time. But I wound up being working at a small company. I think I told you about this.
Mm-hmm.
It was called The Cutting Edge. We sold precision power equipment, fine imported hand tools, and exotic hardwood.
Ooh, that sounds like a juicy job. And this was in Los Angeles?
It was fun. In
Venice.
And sexy. Yeah, it was in Venice, California.
Ooh, that's a sexy place.
Yeah, it was fun. And we had interesting clients. You know, it wasn't really a retail environment. I remember one of our clients was the Getty Museum Conservation Lab.
Mm.
And when they needed something very, very special to be either built or ordered, that they would come to a place like us.
Wow.
Where we could do things like that for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we were serving a specialty clientele who had very special needs.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, that did not work out because that was a company that was on the verge of trying to franchise, and it didn't survive that effort.
Mm-hmm. And how many years did you do that?
That was only a year and a half, but I
Okay.
will tell you it was one of the most intensely creative times of my entire life.
Wow.
It really was. And it was the first time in my life when I was really responsible for making payroll and having other people who were dependent on you. So that was an important life experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when that didn't continue on, I found myself between a rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not at all ashamed to say that I worked at a pretty swinging saloon in Beverly Hills, West Hollywood.
A saloon, meaning you were a bartender.
I was a bartender, yeah. It was a great joint. It really was.
What kind of place was this?
Well, it was the kind of a place, I will tell you, that it's called Joe Allen. There's still one in New York.
Huh.
And it was the type of place where show business people would go because they wouldn't be bothered.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, you know, that was nice, and it had its special aspects to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice relief after being involved in a very intense business environment to be working with a lot of people who were gentle and creative and in a non-competitive atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
We were all very supportive of each other, and that is what I remember of that. That was about a year and a half and 2 years as well. But it was a very supportive and an interesting time, and everybody in that moment was very involved in a spiritual search.
The people that came to the bar?
The people that all worked there,
Oh, that
all the other
worked
bartenders
there.
and all the waiters, almost everybody at that moment was seriously involved in spiritual exploration. It was the most unlikely thing that you would have ever expected, ever.
And it just kind of like conglomerated people were there.
Absolutely magic moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the people that you were serving, were these high-powered star people or? Okay.
It's long enough ago. Yes, your Barbra Streisand, your Bette Midler, your Robert De Niro, Madonna,
that caliber. Okay,
Yeah.
are the true celebrities.
And it was a hangout for them.
But they feel like they could be themselves, and the
Yes.
paparazzi, whatever you call it.
That didn't really exist very much then.
So
that
no
was
one
just
was
before
like,
it. But people, they always went to Joe's to hang out. Not to show off, but to hang out.
Right.
And it was nice.
Be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that you honed some skills in listening, and in addition to being a bartender?
That's very perspicacious of you. Yeah, when you're a bartender, you spend a lot of time listening.
Uh-huh.
And practicing unconditional positive regard for the person that you're talking to.
Aha, unconditional. Tell me what that means.
Didn't we all learn about that in therapy?
Right. I've done therapy, yes.
Yes, yeah, hands, yes. Really taking somebody at face value and not being either impressed or cowed by somebody's celebrity, but know that there's somebody also who simply might be hungry and wants a hamburger and they need something to drink, and you're there to be of service.
Right.
It's very simple. It's a very clean transaction. And I do remember it as a very rewarding time because of many lessons that were learned. Then. It was a fun time. It was '84. LA was having the Olympics in the summer of '84.
Wow.
And it was a lovely time to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Course in Miracles had just that moment surfaced. You know the name Marianne Williamson, I'm sure. She just started teaching A Course in Miracles. And
to our audience who doesn't know who Marianne Williamson is, tell.
Marianne Williamson wrote a remarkable book called Return to Love, which is a commentary on a scriptural, spiritual, psychological set of books called A Course in Miracles. And it's wonderful material. There's still a lot of Course in Miracle groups that meet here in Nashville. There are 2 that meet at my church, and several around town in various locations. And it's not necessarily religious, but it is spiritual insight. And Marianne Williamson is the known teacher around the world, and she has written several books which are commentary based on A Course in Miracles. And Return to Love still, I think, is one of the great spiritual books of the 20th century.
A classic.
Yeah. But LA was a very busy place for spiritual exploration in the mid-'80s as well. And it was great to have work which didn't interfere with your private life. The way a corporate job can be so consuming that you don't have any time for such a thing. And it's where I found my spiritual foothold during that time. And that's one of the reasons I'll always be grateful for those 2 years there.
Wow. So there you are, a bartender, 2 years. It was sounds like it was a relief to not be so responsible.
Yes, it really was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the next part happened when?
Well, then, you know, there always comes a time when you want a greater challenge and it's time to move on.
Right.
And you have to leave your comfort zone and people that you like, and in search of a different context, and as I say, a greater challenge, which will be more rewarding, hopefully. And so I thought, I do remember a moment one night when I looked at myself in the mirror. You know, many saloons, bars, they have a mirror behind the bar with all the bottles in front of them. And I thought, okay, it's time to move on. You know, you're in Southern California, and this is where show business is, so get a job in show business.
Wow.
So I hung up my apron, and I got a job in the mailroom at William Morris Talent Agency.
Wow, that's a big talent agency.
That's a big talent agency.
Ooh.
And that was not fun.
Being in the mailroom, or just
being my age, being in the mailroom, and being in that environment.
And you were not even 30 yet?
I was just.
Okay.
I just turned 30.
Okay.
And I thought, ooh, boy, this is nasty stuff. But what happened eventually is that I had a personal friend who got hired as a gopher on a TV show that was in production. And then when he got a promotion, he hired me to be his gopher.
Okay.
Which is the way things work out.
You start down here, and then you rise up.
Get me a Starbucks, and you say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And no matter what your life experience is, or if you've gone to USC, which I did not to get a degree in film production, but everybody starts as a gopher on the set.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to do that, and I was lucky enough to be on a television show that was in production for 9 years. And it was called Matlock. Andy Griffith had a lawyer show at that time.
Yes, that's. Are they doing reruns of that nowadays?
It is, bless its heart, yes, it is in constant rerun. That and Murder, She Wrote are shows that just won't stop. It's always been rerunning. But I did get to work on the staff. I was the associate producer of that show.
Of Matlock, that is huge. I mean, that's a big-time, successful TV show.
It was very prime time, yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was a very prime time experience.
And was that focused for, I want to be an associate producer of a big time?
No.
Where'd that come from? How'd that happen?
Because I was blessed. I mean, I have no way to account for that, but that I was lucky. And that this friend offered me this job, and it turned out to be a marvelous experience. Again, you know, we are taping this as we are approaching Thanksgiving, and gratitude is on my mind right now, a lot. And for all the different experiences I've had, my recollection of them all is that I'm very grateful for them. They've been interesting, they've been varied. There has been a continuity through all of them, and that there really has been either a service or an artistic element to all these jobs that I've had. And it has been a wonderful experience. I was tasked to be in charge of post-production on that particular show. And so, you know, almost each day was some kind of different artistic activity that I got to learn on the job. So I was so amazingly fortunate. But having gone to art school is good training for many, many things in life.
So there was art school, there was good training, and being a bartender was a good training.
Great training.
That's amazing.
Well, you know, one of the things about, I remember years ago I was sitting at some sidewalk cafe in Manhattan, and there were these two very, very beautiful young women who were sitting behind me. And one of the girls said to the other, she said, you know, I went to college. I'm not going to Xerox for them. They should do it themselves. I don't have to do that. And I wanted to turn around and say, oh, darling, you're going to be Xeroxing the rest of your life.
Oh, no.
But when you're young, you don't think like that.
Right.
You think that things just unfold in an orderly way, that you make more money every year, no matter what, and that things are always going to go in your favor. And so a lesson in humility was a good thing I took away from the saloon years.
Ah, humility.
Well.
Yes.
And that, you know, sometimes you just got to do what needs to get done. And even in the work that I do now, if the bathroom floor needs to be cleaned, that you just have to do that sometimes. You don't wait.
You're not a prima donna by any means.
You can't afford to be.
Right. Right.
You know that.
So we know that you had this successful associate producer of this major TV show, and then somehow or other, you know, you're sitting here as the minister of a very successful large church. There was a turning point. Tell us about the turning point.
Well, the turning point, you're very good. The turning point was that right after Matlock wrapped, I became a current programming executive at Fox Network.
Fox Network.
Which is like being an account executive in an ad agency.
Okay.
And that you have certain people who work for Fox who oversee the activities of television shows that are currently on the air. And so you try and problem solve back and forth when things come up. And again, you know, it's great. It's very interesting, the insights you get into the economy, into the American culture, into pop culture itself, into demographics and who we all are as Americans. I mean, it really is a privilege to have access to certain kind of information. But for me, I thought certain kind of television is not that supportive in cultivating healthy mentality and healthy outlook. It feeds the dream machine in a very unrealistic way. And I was at a situation there at Fox where, you know, it wasn't working at PBS and we weren't making Sesame Street.
Right, right.
And I thought, you know, okay, I'm a certain age now, and this gets me to 44 or 43 or something. And I thought, I really do want to be more of service than I've ever been. Being the age I am now, we used to have an expression that you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And I wanted to really know that I was part of the solution. So I was on a contract that wasn't going to be renewed because my mentor had been fired. And that's just the way it worked. It's fine. And I took some time. Being single, I had the opportunity to take some time. And I thought that I would go into ministry because as an outshoot of my bartending years, I got very, very interested in something that's called religious science. There are two marvelous ministries here in Nashville, the Center for Spiritual Living in Nashville and the Music City Center for Spiritual Living, which teach the science of mind.
I know we had Mitch Johnson here just a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
He was the minister there. Yeah.
Terrific man. So that had been a real mainstay in my life all the years that I lived in California through television and whatnot. And I decided to go into ministry, and I needed to get some credits to go on with that. I went to one graduate school in the Bay Area in Oakland, California for 1 year, and got a master's in creation spirituality, which was beautiful. Then I went to Unity School. I'm a Unity minister now. And I went to the Unity School just outside of Kansas City for 2 years. That was a 2-year program.
And they kind of made you go through some hoops in order to even apply. Am I correct?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, so you really had to really want it.
Well, here's the thing about transitions. You can do anything you want to do. And you can be anything that you want to be. But you have to be honest with yourself and say that I'm going to do this no matter what. No matter what it costs, no matter what the price is, no matter what the sacrifice is. If we have any conditions to it, it's not going to happen. There are people that I meet who have a real heart and they believe they have a sincere interest in ministry and they want to be of service somehow. But you know, they want to know that they're going to be guaranteed a job when they finish seminary. They want to know that they're going to get at least a certain amount of money as a salary and a certain amount of health insurance. And I go, it doesn't work like that.
So how long did it take you to be the Unity minister to get all your training?
Well, it was a year acquiring credits to apply for Unity School.
A year to even try. Okay, got
before
that.
I was eligible.
To even,
That's
okay.
right. And then I did go to this 1-year master's program in Oakland, California. And it was during that time that I applied for the next class because they weren't taking people, and the next upcoming application time was such and such. So that took another year, and that's why I went to that school. So it was a full 2 year, 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Before I got to Kansas City to enroll and do the studies there.
All right, so then you studied in Kansas City, and then how long did it take to you, okay, I'm a minister, I'm a full-fledged minister.
Yes.
Another 2 years?
No, it was 2 years in Kansas City.
Okay.
And then the first opportunity I had to work was here in Nashville.
There you came to Nashville.
Come on.
Yeah.
And again, you know, it was just fantastic. I didn't feel the need to be a senior minister. I did not want to be the boss of anything.
Okay.
I wanted to be an associate minister at a church that was big enough to have one.
And learn more.
To really make sure that I'd made the right choice for me,
Right.
or to explore and see if there was some particular aspect of church-based ministry that I should devote more energy to. So there was only one church in America at that time that had an opening for an associate minister, because most of our
One
churches
church in
are
America, wow.
One.
And that was you in Nashville.
In Nashville.
So we have a little time left. I know that you were in Nashville for how many years and then left?
Was in Nashville for 2 years as an associate. Then you get to a time when you, like I said about tending bar, you need a richer challenge and you need to exercise different muscles, and I needed to become a senior minister.
Right.
So I was offered a pulpit in Bellevue, Washington. Which
Very
is
cool place.
Just outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
Right near the Microsoft campus is where it was. So I was 4 years in there, and then I was blessed to lead a religious science church in Southern California for the last 5 years.
Okay.
In LA in particular. And now I'm back here.
And could I ask you, this whole wonderful circle of your life, have you felt a calling to be where you are right now? Is that kind of been an underlying something? I feel that I really want to be a minister, or it just kind of unfolded and it wasn't even something on your radar?
At this point, I should know, I should have expected that there would have been an opportunity on the horizon to come back or to go somewhere else. Because I had the feeling that when I was asked to take this particular church in LA, I really knew that after 5 years I had done everything that I could have done for that particular community. And then I heard that this particular church, where I am now and where I'd served before, was available, and I thought maybe I can be of service, maybe I can offer something unique to this community. But again, this no matter what thing does keep coming up. And I would like to leave that idea with everybody.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Stay focused.
Stay focused on what it is you really, really hope to achieve.
Right.
Find out what you need to find out about what it's going to cost. It's almost like taking a vacation. You know, your career isn't that much different. If you want to take a vacation, you got to find out what it costs. Is it a $1,000 trip or is it a $20,000 trip?
Right.
Well, know in advance what it is and prepare for it. But if you're going to do it, do it.
Do it. And there we have John McLean, do it. We are going to have a second show with John McLean, so make sure that you tune in for that, and we'll explain even more of his philosophies, of what he's teaching in his church, and we so appreciate that you're here. Thank you, and stay tuned for the next Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Thanks.